discuss it, this one.
Are we on?
No, it doesn't matter. Let's just sit for it. We got to call the game. Here, just give me 1 sec. I'll go ask. Oh!
No way. Go! He's so mad.
Touchdown, Notre Dame! Luke Weaver. That 98-yard return taken for the touchdown. In to attempt the extra point for Notre Dame is number 90, Joaquin Arroyo. And long snapper is number 4, Miles Azat. And doing the holding for Notre Dame is Jacob Rincon.
Here, wait. Ford, start talking to this and I'll say if it's on. Start talking now.
Checking. 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 Mic 2.
And the kick is good. Score now, Notre Dame 7 and Crespi nothing. Kicking off for Notre Dame is number 85, William Weisberg. 5 and 3. Back to receive for the Celts. Be number 5, Elijah Pendleton, and also number 3, Aduna Parte.
We are live at NDSN where the Notre Dame Knights will take on the Crespi Carmelite Celts. The stars are out, the lights are bright, and I am Ford Quains here with Joseph Sciarrino bringing to you this edition of Friday Night Football in beautiful Sherman Oaks, California. We just now had a big play, 18, Luke Weaver run all the way to the big house in the opening kickoff, and the Knights take an early 7-0 lead. And Joseph, how is this atmosphere feeling?
I mean, we got a very unique atmosphere here today because this is a big rivalry. These two teams have faced off more times than we can remember, and no matter the result, it has always been an aggressive, intense, and hard-fought battle. I expect to see much more of the same today, especially since last game Notre Dame won 55-7 in a big blowout. I'm 100% confident that Crespi remembers that game like it was yesterday. They are here to do one thing and one thing only, prove that they are better than Notre Dame this year. But with Notre Dame coming off 2 blowouts, giving up 0 points in the process in week 1 and 2, I expect this to be a difficult one for Crespi to come away with a win.
That's right, Joseph. The blood runs deep in this Valley rivalry, but it's Notre Dame who's taken the cake recently. The men leading these squads into battle. Brad Vonneman for Crespi, Evan Yabu for Notre Dame. The fight for first-year coach superiority as Crespi takes the field.
Yeah, I mean, in my interview with Coach Yabu, he said about the road trip coming up, it would mean a lot for us right now to get any momentum here at home with this 3-game home span before we go to the 4-game road trip and have to face some of the toughest battles that they will have to do all year against Jay Sarah, Sarah Canyon, and Sarah. So, as you can see, Yabu definitely understands the magnitude of this game and why it would mean so much going forward. We're lucky to have this game on our schedule because we're in here and in store tonight for a rivalry matchup that will no doubt be remembered the rest of the season.
The tackle by Malu. And right now it's Tristan Foria who will be getting the start for Crespi at quarterback. Mason Harvey in development, so he will be sitting tonight. Foria 6 foot, 160 pounds. We are off here in Sherman Oaks. Excuse me. Started with a bang here early on. Now Crespi to see if they can make some magic happen and get back in this one after a big early deficit. Ball's out. And now in an absolute dog pile is Elijah Pendleton. A dangerous play.
5 carrying the ball. Hand off to number 5, Elijah Pendleton.
There's Elijah Pendleton, either miscommunication or a mishold.
I don't think this one.
Jacob Drucker. And also on the
Yeah,
tackle
talking to this one.
for Notre Dame, number 54, Samson Luke.
Try talking.
Check up
And it's been a struggle for Crespi these last few years. 0-10 last year in Division 8 ball. But now they got a new coach, Brad Voname. He was a linebacker coach at Fresno State, Sioux Falls. And they were in Division 2, number 5 in the entire country. So he's looking to bring some of that culture and some of that success here as Faria handoff. And it's Demony Bell who is brought down. And it will now go to 4th down. And Crespi comes away empty-handed on the first drive.
I mean, we had that very unique kickoff return touchdown. That's the first one that we've seen this season, and probably for the rest of the season. Because, I mean, that was just a fall apart for the, defending team on the kickoff. And Notre Dame, they got some really big blocks. And I really think that kickoff teams are very underrated. I mean, we don't see, to be very technical about that. As right there, they had all the blocks. They got all the assignments to make it 7-0 Notre Dame. As in week 1, we had a pick 6. So Notre Dame has been getting a lot of very unique touchdowns to get their first points. As Eric is getting ready to bring it back after the punt. He's got 3 Crespi Celts on him. He's going to go around the side. And a great move as he will be up at the 50 in the midfield and getting ready to get Notre Dame and their squad out for the first offensive drive.
It was the kick from Belaver, the reception from Bajunas. And Belaver is no joke of a kicker. Ranked number 5 in the state, nationally ranked in both kicking and punting, along with his counterpart, Will Weisberg, who comes in as a 4 to 4.5-star ranking. So special teams on both sides of the ball clearly showing tonight, and it's shown already. Luke Weaver, the big kickoff touchdown to start this game off with a bang, and now Steele Pizzella enters into the QB position for the first time tonight, and Notre Dame will get on offense.
3 receivers on the right, 1 on the left. Steele in the pocket. It's going to be a screenplay, which is very unique for the Knights. They're going to get a block, but Steele gets it up. A good yard gain.
And it was Bell, the running back linebacker combo, coming in with the tackle there to stop Bajunas in his track, who's had an unbelievable season, averaging 130 yards per game. Looking to be the first Knight since 2008 to get 1,000 yards. Snap to Pizzella, high snap, fakes to Cooper. Pizzella gonna run. Pizzella brought down, and he got absolutely nothing there. Tried to go for the fake to Elliott Cooper, did not work out. The legs of Pizzella, nowhere to go.
Yeah, the jet sweep is always a very risky play to call, as he decided to keep it, which I've never really seen Notre Dame, as that was like one of their first plays to try and do that. Couldn't get too much yardage, but it is 3rd down and 1 yard to go on the 41, and I'm expecting to see a rush given to Zane. Just bully his way up the middle and trust your blockers to do the job.
Pizzella, first year Notre Dame, hand off to Tryon. Tryon breaking free, still nowhere to go, and Notre Dame will go to 4th down. First down, he got the first down, and they'll ruin Knight's favor. Ball gets placed to the 41, and Tryon has been having an incredible season thus far, averaging over 7 to carry, as Belton comes on, who's been off to a little bit of a slower start. But with how much Crespi has struggled on the rush this year, allowing 328 yards in their game against Grace Brethren, it looks like this could be the kind of game where Belton could really get something going, get the wheels spinning. Pizzella, play action, rolling out. He's got Bajunas, makes the catch at the 25. Eric is Bajunas.
Man, Eric has really shown himself of a really good quality player, as his sophomore year at Ford, he only had 6 receptions. He was not, the main receiver. And then, last year he got 28 receptions and got a lot of yards. And then in his very first game this season in week 1, he had 5 receptions for 100 yards. So he averaged 20 yards a catch. So he's been really making the use of the play time, and we've really been looking for him. Is that will be given?
Cooper down the sideline. Cooper, take it all the way to the end zone. His 2nd touchdown of the season. Elliott Cooper, the junior, making his impact already known. And the Knights take a 13-0 lead, barring the extra point.
And that's the thing the Knights do well, right? They always strike first. I've never seen, because of both, blowouts and shutouts, they've never been down in the first quarter at all. So their thing is that they always want to get out, 13-0 lead, 7-0 lead, 21-0 lead sometimes in the first quarter, and they want to drive that all the way. as Joaquin will be here for the field goal attempt.
Brink on the hold, a royal extra point up, and it's good. And he remains almost perfect on the year. His only miss coming as a blocked extra point in last week's game versus Birmingham. And Notre Dame is up and running. They break the ice, and they draw first blood. 14-0 Notre Dame inside 5 minutes and a couple seconds.
Yeah, I really think that return on the kickoff has really shifted the momentum in just those 10 seconds. As right now we have a little bit less than 7 minutes to go with 6 minutes and 57 seconds. But those big plays, interceptions for pick six, kickoff return touchdown, fumble recovery on first plays really shift to the team who benefited from that. But, Crespi right now, they're still trying to get the gears up and going as Will Weisberg will be ready for the kickoff. And Crespi's going to try and replicate what Notre Dame did and try and get a touchdown of their own on the kickoff.
It'll be Hart and Pendleton back. Weisberg to take the kick. And Elliott Cooper coming up with his second touchdown of the year. What a journey he's had last year. 8th in the depth chart. No receiving touchdowns last year at all. Now he's already got 2 inside 3 weeks. There's a few minutes into tonight's game. Already getting himself on the score sheet. It'll be Pendleton to receive. That's going to go into the end zone. Touchback. And Crespi will go back to the 20 to start their second offensive attempt.
A big thing that we want to mention is Notre Dame, they've been at home for 3 of the games. They played against Peninsula, then Birmingham, now here Crespi. But it's going to be really, really difficult as they go on this 4-game road trip, as they will be playing against J. Sarah, ranked number 8 in California for number 8. I mean, that is definitely going to be a new thing for Notre Dame, as they've been playing, some of the lower-ranked teams that they've normally beat in their seasons here. But, I mean, J. Sarah is going to be a big difference.
Looking for Pendleton, doesn't go. Fires it right into the ground, and that one's not going to go anywhere. Second down. And Luke Weaver going back to his first play. It's unfortunate that we missed that. It would have been an exciting play to call. But Luke Weaver, the sophomore, playing his first year on varsity, multi-sport athlete, runs an 11.33 100-meter in track. He really just has an all-around game. He's quite phenomenal at what he does, and he's showing already. His biggest play of the year by far. Had a drop in week 1, but now he's really coming alive here, and Notre Dame is up. They get back on defense. Snap to Faria. Toss to Bell. And he is swallowed up by Brandon Bryant, who's had so many tackles this year. 16, make it 17. 11 of those solo.
There's a reason why Notre Dame has not given up a single point this season. Their D-line is one heck of a unit. I mean, they overpower almost every O-line. So I would expect to see more of the same. And also, Notre Dame, they have some really big hitters as Hayden, Carson Brewster, who have been forcing a lot of incomplete passes from their hard hits. As you can see, Carson right on the screen, right near the 35-yard line. As he can't find it. He's going to try and scramble, and he is stuffed.
And brought down. It was Damjan Mitrovic, and he is lethal on there. Only playing his second game of the season so far because of CIF transfer rules. But boy, has he been a big addition to this team. And Crespi, nowhere to go so far. And they will be all the way back for 4th down. The punting unit will come out. It'll be Bielaver to take the punt. And it looks like it'll be either Pajunas or Weaver to receive, depending on which direction it goes. Both have themselves a game so far. Let's see if they can emulate that success.
As we got Lloyd Weaver back to receive. As so far, Crespi hasn't even gone out of their own territory, so they've been struggling a little bit on offense. Almost blocked.
Gonna land for Pajunas. Pajunas got some room to run. If he can get a block, he can go a long way. Pajunas down inside the 40. And Notre Dame, just like that, in offensive territory. And that's what happens when you can pin those guys back big time. We have forces like Brandon Bryant holding multiple Division I offers. Damjan Mitrovic off the edge. It is a dangerous combination, and it means that Notre Dame, with 5:22 of 14, is already back in the offensive territory with a chance to strike again. And Joseph, how does this game feel so far? Do you think Coach Yabu and Coach Boname are satisfied with their team's performances?
I mean, if you're Coach Yabu, Notre Dame has done everything and more so far to start. I mean, if you're Coach Yabu, you're thinking, let's just start the game off strong. And heck, they started off with a return touchdown off the kickoff. And, the first 10 to 15 seconds. So if you're a coach, sometimes those are just gimmies for your team because you're not expecting that. So I think Notre Dame has come out really well, but Crespi, you know, they're already back on the second drive for Notre Dame's offense. So they need to get this ball and they need to move it up the field. They haven't gotten any really big gains so far.
That's right, and the home crowd playing a big role, getting them going just a few seconds in, and they are live and they are buzzing here in Sherman Oaks. The snap goes to Pizzella. Pizzella looking deep. He's got Weaver wide open. Luke Weaver into the end zone again. And Luke Weaver, inside of 10 minutes, has his second touchdown of the night. The sophomore making his impact big. Luke Weaver again.
I mean, come on. What more do you want? Another Steele classic. Steele is known for throwing these really deep and sometimes even risky passes, but his arm is such a cannon, and he has pinpoint accuracy, which we cannot overlook. As right there, he didn't throw it to his receiver. He threw it where his receiver was going to be, so he didn't have to hold up and stop. All he had to do was keep running, put his hands out, and that was a really good catch, as he did not see the ball anywhere close to him. So great job, Weaver, another touchdown. Here we go, Knights, 21-0 with only 5 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Arroyo secures the extra point, his third of the night already. He's been a busy man. Inside 10 minutes, and Notre Dame playing exactly how they want to inside these first 10. Luke Weaver, 2 touchdowns. Cooper gets 1. Everyone's getting their play tonight. And Crespi seems to be in a big hole, already 1 foot out the door just inside of the first quarter. And going back to that Steele Pizzella throw, I mean, it's just so lethal what he can do with his arm, especially when he has the threat of the run along with him. Steele Pizzella, elite running quarterback so far this year, 154 passer rating, absolutely elite, already 3 rushing touchdowns to his name, and he is making a splash in his first games in Notre Dame. As Weisberg takes the kickoff, it'll be Pendleton to receive, touchback into the back of the end zone. Crespi, once again, back inside their own 20 and down even bigger than last time. This Knights receiving game coming alive yet again, and tends to be the dominant part of their game. Pass-heavy team because they have the double threat of Steele Pizzella running. And it's on full display tonight.
I mean, I think that's what makes Notre Dame so lethal. They not only just have a good rushing game or good passing game, they have also great defense. So it makes it so hard for teams to try and study them during film because there's so many things to be aware of, and sometimes you forget that they have these sneaky, you know, they tried that jet sweep. They have not tried that once this season. So Notre Dame, they're really seeing this as a practice almost, trying to get these new plays in and seeing how well they work.
Charles lines up left. Fourier. He's got Riggs in motion. Fourier finds Bell. Bell wrapped up in the back, and Bell is brought down. And that is a lethal defense, swallowing up everybody who comes within 2 feet of them.
That's what we talked about earlier. See, that was the He-Man. We talked about how big hitters are on this Notre Dame squad. As when they go to tackle, they aren't going to, you know, make friends. You know, they're not going to lightly take them down. They want to send a message to not come anywhere near us trying to get a first down. So He-Man does a great job of stopping that.
And a nightmare start for Crespi, who did not want this to be going in. And there's a big break by Bell. And he might have gotten the first down there, at least a pair of yards there. Demony Bell, who had 227 yards in their win against Grace Brethren, who the last time they had won before that was when he was just in 8th grade. The sophomore, maybe a shining light on this team, which is full of a lot of dark spots. They've struggled hard the last decade, falling from number 34 in the country back in 2014. Now 556 in the state. Barely beating Grace Brethren in double overtime, who was just playing their first game of 11-on-11 football in week 1 and getting obliterated by Garfield last week, 41-0. Must have been allergic to cats or something because it was a disaster of a game. And now they're looking to try and prove something, even get a little small victory against Notre Dame, but it does not seem to be shaping out that way. If there's an issue with the stat, might have been a false start on Crespi.
Flag on the play.
You know, it is pretty impressive what Notre Dame's done. As let's not forget last season, they were 5-7. That's a 42% win rate, and they were 2-5 at home. They lost a majority of their home games, which you just can't do. If you are trying to compete for a championship, if you're trying to win the Michigan League Championship, you have to win your home games in the Castle here for Notre Dame.
That's right. It was this point last year where Notre Dame started to take a tumble. They won their first 2 games of the season, ran into a rough patch of tough teams. They went 1-4 in those next 5 games. And the only one that they won in those 5 games was a forfeited loss from Jay Sarah, where they had lost the game 12-10 originally. A complete offensive disaster, but they were given the forfeit because Sarah had broken the CIF transfer rules. So a bad stretch for Notre Dame, and they will enter into another tough part of their schedule this year coming up next week. But they can get that experience, and like Coach Yabu said in the interview yesterday, they can get that confidence, get that momentum going in the next weeks, as Crespi is yet again swallowed up in the backfield. But they will move the chains. They will get the first down. Their first down of the night. Demony Bell, the sophomore star.
Notre Dame keeps showing their defensive ability to stop the run and the pass game, as Crespi has not gained too many yards, as Notre Dame has held them in check and has held them in place for each drive. So I would not be surprised to see another punt result for Crespi.
And one of the interesting things about Crespi and in this game and looking at where Notre Dame outmatches Crespi and where they have so far, a lot of it might be the size discrepancy. Average Crespi player is about 20 pounds lighter than the average Notre Dame player, as it'll be Harvey to take this one. Harvey out to Campuzano, and Campuzano is wrapped up back behind the line of scrimmage, and Crespi reverses again. Said the Crespi fans are right there.
Loss on the play, and on the tackle for Notre Dame was number 10.
Second down here, Crespi on their own 28 yet again. They have 15 to go, wrapped out 5 yards back from the own line of scrimmage. And it'll be Mason Harvey to come in. A tough start, but this right here could be the kind of jump start they need. It was a great Demony Bell rush early on to get the first down. Now they look to be in prime position to maybe strike again. Snaps high, Harvey backtracking. Harvey rolling out again, might just have to throw it away here. Harvey, and he throws away, might be an intentional grounding call coming. And that was a dangerous play. Snap goes over Harvey's head.
Yeah, that was a tough mistake for Crespi, as Notre Dame has had a fair share of mistakes like that, as on the opening kickoff in week 2, Notre Dame botched the kickoff, and they were at the second down yard line in their own territory. So that could have been really big, but they were able to get it up to the 40, so they were able to avert danger. But those little mistakes can really cost a team, especially early on when you're trying to fight back, especially against Notre Dame.
That's right. Often is the little things that can separate teams from winning and losing in these kind of games, especially going on the road. Things have to be clean, especially playing against a team like Notre Dame, a team that's, you know, a pretty high level for a football team. Sometimes you just got to hit them early. Like in baseball, when you have an ace, one of those really good pitchers, oftentimes you got to get them in the first couple innings before they really lock in, before their velocity goes up, before their control starts setting in. And it looks like Crespi needs to try and get to them early, as there's a sack by Johnston Cook, brought down, and Johnston Cook gets his first sack of the season. Harvey brought down.
Yep, Notre Dame did a great job on the coverage there. The Crespi quarterback had no place to throw, and as if he did, it would have either been an interception or it would have to be an incompletion out of bounds. So they forced him to scramble and try and make something of his own with his speed, but just the speed of Cook was just too much, and there was the big sack, his first one as the season, as Ford said.
That's right. Cook also a big presence on the offensive line, a very regular at the center position. Now it'll go on Notre Dame. A defensive penalty, and that's a big blow, giving Crespi their second first down this drive and their second first down of the game in total. So a bit of a break for Crespi as they will enter back into first down territory.
Taking the ball down to the Crespi 41-yard line. They'll bring up a 4th down and 2.
Now Joseph, I'm wondering here, what do you think is the course of action for Crespi? What do you think Brad Voname is telling his players on the sideline right now to try and get them going? I mean, it's obviously a nightmare start, but obviously they're not going to give up. There's still a chance. It's still early in the game. What do you think he's telling his players on the sideline right now as they're trying to regroup from this difficult start?
I think you made a really good point. It's early in the game. You know, coaches always tend to go to that. That's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? So he's saying keep your calm. We'll try and find some plays that work, and they have shown signs of life on the rushing game. They just need to get their O-line to start making some big blocks and to start noticing the holes quick for their running back, and then just taking that and going with it. So I think right now just keep your calm. We'll find some ways. You know, if we can't at halftime, we'll talk it over, and we'll know Notre Dame a lot more at halftime. So they're going to try and just figure that out and gather all the information they can get right now.
Snap to Foria. Here's Bell. Bell rushing through, and he's wrapped down. About a 6-yard gain for Demony Bell. He's been contributing big time. The rushing game has been all that they've had to hang on to. The passing game's been a struggle. Only 48 passing yards last week. So they're going to have to get that going. And Demony Bell, again, his wheels turn early on. And Crespi making a little drive here, showing some signs of life, getting back in this one.
Yeah, this is the first time that they have gone into Notre Dame's territory. And I just told you, right, they've been looking at their rushing right now. And just right there, they get a pretty good yardage gain. So it'll be second down and not too long to go. As they're at the 51-yard line, they're looking to advance even more in Notre Dame's territory and try and get in the red zone for a field goal or a touchdown possibly.
That's right. And just some interesting narratives about Crespi. The year that they were number 34 in the country, which was back in 2014, Mater Dei football team was number 32 in the country. If you're not familiar with high school football, you may not know this, but Mater Dei has been number 1 in the country for 5 of the last 7 years. So just to see the way these two programs who were once so close together have now drifted far apart. But that's one of the cool things about high school football. As fast as it can go from the top of the pinnacle all the way to rock bottom is just as fast as it can go from the rock bottom back to the pinnacle. And it can start right here, small victories, maybe a touchdown, maybe just some points on the board, but something to get them started, something to maybe give them back those feelings of pride they had for years back and get them back on track to reaching the pinnacle of high school football again. As they take the field again, breaking the huddles.
And now we begin the second quarter of play, all resting. Just into Notre Dame territory.
As we're here for second quarter action, as after the first quarter, Notre Dame is up 21-0 as they have kept Crespi in check and have held them really in the palm of their hands so far. But Crespi is looking to, drive up the field. As there is another penalty.
Might have been a false start on Crespi, and it is, and they're going to be going 5 yards back.
That's always a tough pill to swallow when you get a good yard gain, especially with a rush, which is never an easy objective, and to now have to be pushed back because of a penalty is always a tough one, and the coaches always, will get on their team for not making those silly mistakes. But, still second down. They still got 2 more drives to go if they want to go for it on 4th down.
The Knights are live here tonight, start of the second quarter, getting the chance going. Neon theme here in the building, and Notre Dame environment student section really providing the energy here. As the snap goes back to Faria again, handoff to Bell. Bell try to get wrapped up by Monty. It was Brandon Bryant right there, and Bell taken down, a minuscule gain for Demony Bell.
To get out to the 45-yard line. Back to the line of scrimmage.
And Crespi goes back to 3rd down and 10 on their own 46. And it's right here, their best opportunity they've had all night, the closest they've been to Notre Dame territory. But it can all end right here. One more Notre Dame defensive stop, and they will get back on the offensive front. So Crespi really wants to convert this right here.
I mean, if you're Crespi, you're definitely going for a pass. So you see Notre Dame, they've got their backs and safeties already ready for this. I expect cover 1, as each person will have man coverage, and then you'll have the safety. As right there, everyone has man coverage. It's tough. There's nobody open. He's going to throw it close, and that will not be enough.
It was Hart who made the catch, and he got the feet in, and Crespi will not move the chains, however. Only a 5-yard gain.
Pushed out of bounds by number 5.
Fourth.
intended for number 17.
And it looks to me like they might get this first down by default. A tough hit from Bryan. They might have considered it late. And it looks like now this one is going to go back to the Celts. They're going to get a first down here. And the Notre Dame section is quite livid at this call.
This will be a personal foul against
Bryan there.
15-yard penalty.
It's quite demoralizing for the Knights, if you ask me, right, Joseph? When you get a big stop, Crespi driving, you finally halt their momentum, then all of a sudden you get a penalty. Questionable call, maybe in the Notre Dame perspective?
No, I think that was a pretty clean call, pretty obvious, but it is always tough, especially if it's silly fouls. If it's a passer interference, sometimes it's better to do that because if the receiver gets away from you, it's looking like a touchdown. A passing interference could prevent a touchdown, but right there it was just a silly foul. But, Celts will get a new set of downs, and we'll try again, as they will just give it to the QB.
Harvey brought down by Bryant, and he compensates for his personal foul. Brandon Bryant, the tackle machine of Notre Dame, and he had help from Canale on the side. And Crespi, interestingly working here, the two quarterback set, alternating between Harvey and Faria. It's quite an interesting setup they got going on. And it seems to be that they're just trying to get whatever they can. Trying to see if they can shock Notre Dame, throw the defense off guard, and maybe try and make a big play happen while Notre Dame isn't properly looking. Snap to Harvey. Bell still going, brought down, and Bell will get a few yards of the game.
Ford, I don't think that one's on.
And Bell, about a 3-yard gain there. Brought down by Canale there. Canale, a big 6'4", 230 defensive lineman, works in a little bit at tight end, but he dominates at the defensive end position. And right there you can see just no mercy for Demony Bell. There was no match for the big arms of Jonathan Canale. Mosqueda, Malu, Johnson, Cook.
No, dude, you're good. No, we're calling the game. It's really good. Have you mumbled a lot? No. Have you?
And Joseph, how do you think Crespi's outlook is on this game right now? I mean, they had a big drive going. They're still moving. Do you think that they still feel that this is a game that they can get back in, and this is still a game they're competitive?
I mean, playing football one year in my sophomore year, there's no game where your mentality is, I can't win. No matter how big the differential in points is, especially this early, you're always thinking, we can win this. And I think Crespi, they tighten it up. It will be tough. They might need to get, some calls in their favor, but I think they will definitely have a chance later on. But it has to start now. Someone has to make a big play. The momentum has to switch because momentum is not loyal. It will not stay with one team the entire game. But that momentum is always for anyone to grab.
False start moves them back 5 yards, knocking them out of field goal range. Although it is important to mention, not much is out of field goal range for Ante Bielhaber, an excellent kicker, but they're not going to settle for the field goal here. Toss from Harvey, brought down. It was Oya Menden, who is just completely on Campazano's back and brings him down. Incomplete pass.
And a fun fact about Ante is that he's a two-sport player. He's also on the basketball team for Crespi. So, that's the thing about football. It attracts players from all different sports. As a thing that we were talking a lot about earlier is how many people can play football, right? You have O-linemen, people who are big and strong in stature. Then you have, running backs and cornerbacks who are really big, but, maybe not as big like that. It just attracts everything. You have Will Weisberger, who has an incredible leg and is able to use that strength to help in football. So football is definitely a sport where it attracts all different types of athletes.
That's right, many different kinds of athletes. Will Weisberg, for example, 6'4", 172. Hudson Harris on the line, 6 foot, 220. It seems like there's a spot for anybody, and that's why these varsity teams are so big, along with being no cut. But 52 players for Notre Dame, 62 players on the roster for Crespi. These are both big teams with a lot of options, and Notre Dame gets back on the offensive front.
As you know, this may be a no-cut sport, but that doesn't mean you're going to get playing time. The coaches decide who they really want out there on the field. So the practices are definitely real and which ones will thrive and which ones will deliver under pressure.
That's right. Notre Dame in the huddle right now. Crespi kneeling on the field. 9:31 to go in the second quarter. And Notre Dame off to a jumping start. First quarter, putting it on. And now it seems to be just stalling out a little bit. Maybe an early swing of momentum that was in their favor is now kind of dying off. The energy in the crowd seems to be going a little bit. And maybe this right here is where Crespi needs to start to try and pounce on Notre Dame, try and get it while they're down.
They need to be careful. Notre Dame might go for a really big play now.
Tryon rush. Tryon up the sideline, brought down by Bell. Zane Tryon getting his work in this year, averaging 70 yards a game, and Zane Tryon is off and running.
It's just ridiculous to put into perspective the receiving yards per game as the leaders with Mackay. 56 yards per games in receiving, which is just incredible how much receiving yards, as you can see.
But speaking of receiving yards, Ericus Pajunas already 130 yards receiving per game. It's been an unbelievable season for him, as we mentioned earlier. Looking to be the first player since 2008 to get a 1,000-yard season. And he can rack up those yards today. He might need to because they got a tough few games coming up. Jay Sarah next week as Pizzella rolls out to the right, finds Tryon, trying to break the tackle, can't get there. And a big tackle by Crespi on first down. And Zane Tryon almost had a lane to run. Could have gone a long way if not for that.
Yeah, the screen didn't work exactly how they were expecting. Normally you want the receiver to be running with the offensive lineman, but the receiver had to stop with a little bit of a wobbly pass, so he had nobody in front. But it was a pretty good gain of yards as they'll start to try and clean up that screen play. But the variety that Notre Dame has been showing has really caught Crespi on the back of their ears on defense.
Pizzella snap. Pizzella looking downfield. He's got Cooper. He's got Stagnaro. Greg Stagnaro still going. Stagnaro down the sideline. Bell in pursuit brings him down inside the 10. Greg Stagnaro, his biggest play of the year. 1 yard for 24 catch all year long, and he might have just doubled that total in one play right then and there. Greg Stagnaro, how about that?
The MVP of that play right there was right in front of us. We saw that block by Ericus, which gave Greg all the room to run. So great job by Ericus. Those small details, right? That block, if that didn't happen, probably a 10-yard gain. But that block leads it all the way down into the red zone, inside the 10, as Greg last season for the JV team was their QB, but he's found a new home here as receiver.
That's right. Pizzella looking for Pajunas in the end zone, wide open. And you cannot leave Ericus Pajunas that open. And he racks up his 5th touchdown of the year and his first of the night. It was inevitable, and he is inevitable. Ericus Pajunas, yet again, doing his job in a Knights uniform.
As we saw, a perfect angle right there, a corner route. He goes 10 yards up, takes a pivot to the right, and just had enough room to get that pass in. As still right there, he had a very tight window to get that ball in Eric's hands, and he got it all the way to the rack. Let's go Knights, already taking it by storm this first half.
How's that snap? Rincon hold. A royal kick is good. And that entire drive defined by Ericus Pajunas. The block on the Greg Stagnaro play. Almost 50 yards to get him inside the 10. And the corner route, single coverage. It was absolutely no match. And that's what having a receiver like Eric Pajunas can do for you. Because not only can he make the plays, he can also free up the guys to make the plays that aren't for him. So like Greg Stagnaro right there, he probably does not have that play if not for Eric right there.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. He does not have that big of a gain without Ericus.
That's right, and this whole team right now riding on Eric Padrunas' back. And Steele Pizzella, almost perfectly accurate tonight. I mean, I don't even think he's had an incomplete pass yet. And that has not just been a fluke of the night. Steele Pizzella, 74% completion on the year, the first 2 games. And he is just seeming to be continuing that trend, fitting into this new Knights system, what Coach Yabu calls a new age offense. And it just seems to be really working tonight. 28-0, halfway through the second quarter. Weisberg to take the kick. Short kick, falls to Pendleton. Pendleton lost the ball, and that's going to go back into the end zone. And there's a whistle on the play, and the ball was fumbled in the end zone. It will go for a touchback.
As that's exactly what happened to Notre Dame in week 2, but the ball did not fumble into the end zone, so they had to make it up on the spot, as Crespi luckily gets it to fumble into the end zone. As that has really been Crespi's game today, right? Just a lot of mistakes. But I think they have the chance to get up, and 28-0, definitely not ideal, but going against Notre Dame, there's no easy wins against Notre Dame. And just speaking about how you were talking about Steele and the new system, when Wyatt left, we thought who could fit into this new system as a first-year QB on Varsity with all that pressure, but Steele has fit in exceptionally well, as all of his talents have been evolved around these players, and you see Steele makes other players a lot better. I mean, when you got a defense that sees all the cushion that they're getting, they want to help that QB, and they'll do anything in their power to make sure that there'll be no points scored. So Steele has really just helped in leadership role and in talent on and off the field for the Knights.
That's right. And how about Coach Yabu, the first-year coach out of Thousand Oaks, was MVP of the team there at his alma mater in 2007 and orchestrated maybe one of the most incredible high school football turnarounds you'll ever see. Took Thousand Oaks from a 25-game losing streak, 2 straight 0-10 seasons, to a 10-0 season in a division 4 divisions higher than what they were when they were 0-10. And now he comes here, and there's no wonder why Alec Moss loved him. His turnaround there was incredible. But it is quite a new change for Notre Dame. They tend to be very hidebound, as the LA Times described it. They like to have guys that are in their system. And so it is a new age for Notre Dame. Yabu era.
I mean, a fun fact is that Yabu, he has never played or coached against Crespi, so this is a very new team that they are playing against. And I interviewed Coach Yabu about concepts that Crespi has seen to be as a threat, as that will be on halftime, as you guys will see my interview with Yabu. And Yabu is just a really, really good coach. He brings young energy, he brings enthusiasm, he brings passion, and I think we see that as Knights have 2 already shutout blowout wins, and we maybe could have another one today, depending on if they keep up the pace.
Yeah, and some of these things that he does, like having his players meditate regularly, have these what he calls vulnerable bonding sessions. And there's Pendleton taking up the field, brought down by Carson Brewster, and Pendleton pierces through the Notre Dame defense, the biggest play of the night for Crespi, and they are on their feet here at the away section in Notre Dame.
That might be the play. We were talking about Ford when you asked, what are you thinking as a coach right now? He was thinking we just need one play to open it up, and that might be the play that Crespi will now use going into the second half. So great job right there, great play, big gain yards, as we can see, as maybe loyalty will go to Crespi this time.
That's right, and you can imagine Voname's speech at halftime is going to be pretty intense, but it might be able to be a little bit eased here if they can get something going. As Foria drops back, Foria rolling out, nowhere to go, boxed in by Canale. He'll throw it incomplete. It was Canale and Oya Menden boxing him out, forcing him out to the sideline, and they will go to second down here. You are listening to an NDHS, NDSN broadcast. If you want to hear more, you can follow NDHS Sports Network on Twitter for live scores and updates. We broadcast every home football game and a lot of home Notre Dame games. We're doing this all season long, so we thank you for tuning in from wherever you are. You can watch these games live or on demand at NDSN Network on YouTube. As Crespi gets ready for the second down, Foria again, alternating with Harvey all night. Foria, handoff to Bell. Bell wrapped up. No gain. They'll go to 3rd and 10. And it's already looking like that amazing play by Elijah Pendleton to pierce the Notre Dame defense might not amount to very much.
As after this game for Crespi, they'll finish their 2-game road trip, as they'll go against North, and then they'll also go against Venice, but that will be back at their home. So Crespi it's going to be a tough game right here, but I think further on in their schedule, they will be able to find some success. As for Notre Dame, it might be the opposite, as they're going up against the number 8 ranked team in California in J-Sierra and number 10 in Sierra Canyon. So that is one tough tough schedule for Notre Dame coming up, and they will all be away games too. So that just adds into the unideal aspects in their game right now.
And it was Canale again there on that play, get to 4th down, another incomplete pass, and Jonathan Canale all over tonight. It seems like you can put him anywhere and he'll make an impact. He can pierce up the middle, he can come off the edge. And what is Crespi going to do here? Foria still on the field, and they might go for it. They don't got a lot to lose, to be fair.
Yeah, they're going to have to go for a big pass like last time, because on 4th you're not going to risk the run game unless you are 100% confident that your O-line and running back will be able to find a big hole. So I'm assuming maybe a screen play that we've seen, or maybe they'll try and get a hitch route, maybe get the defender off and make a good move, as there could be a lot of possibilities.
Snap to Foria. Foria looking deep. He's got it up the middle. It was hard. A big 4th and 9 conversion, and Notre Dame is going to be kicking themselves for that one. A big play. And how about the balls from Brad Foname to go for it on 4th and 9, not in the best field position at all. And the Celtics get their big first down that they needed so desperately. And it looks like Elijah Pendleton's big play will not go to waste. And better yet, now we are in Billiver range.
Yeah, there was a big pass play that I was expecting that they would try and do it, and they did it perfectly, as here's the jet sweep, going to try and find an open lane.
There is a Pendleton yet again. Pendleton rocked by Malu. Samson Malu. And you can always see Samson Malu, the long hair, the arm sleeve tat, and big hits like that. Samson Malu, have a night. And that's exactly what he's there for. 5'11", 242. It's a big old block coming right at you, and that's got to be a scary sight to see if you're Elijah Pendleton. No match right there.
That's a second big hit in a row for Notre Dame, as Crespi, they've been finding some open lanes, but it has been tough with these big hits from Notre Dame, making sure they don't, gain extra yardage on the play.
It'll be a 39-yard field goal from here. Definitely good for Ante Billiver, but they want more than that. Hand off to Bell, wrapped up, and guess who it is? Samson Malu. Yet again, on it like that. And he is just piercing through the Crespi offensive line right now.
Tackled by number 54, that was Samson Malu.
28-0 here, 3:35 remaining. And Joseph, do you think Crespi's going to try to run off the clock here a little bit? Or do you think that there's not really much an effort here? They're just trying to get the points and not worry about what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I don't think they should worry about it. You just got to get the points any way you can. Because, it could be a good strategy to run out the clock, but it's already such a big deficit that you're just trying to get points no matter what. So I expect them to go and play very aggressive. They might try and run out the clock, make sure Notre Dame doesn't get it.
Snap high again. Foria tracking back. This could be a big loss. He's got Alzad in pursuit, and he throws it away. And a potential, yes, and that will be an intentional grounding call. Very obvious. He had absolutely nowhere to go. The high snap, and yet again, the Crespi line doing Foria dirty, not giving him much of an opportunity to do much at all. And then he just had 3 Knights right in his face. Miles Alzad leading the pack. And the penalty will take them 10 yards back.
Yeah, that was the second time that there was a snap failure from the O-line. Always, not too good of a sign to see if you're the team. So you just got to clean it up. They got to be a little crisper. As, confidence is probably at an all-time low for Crespi with the situation that they're in. So they just got to fight through it, as adversity really builds character and shows just how much a team is. So Crespi needs to try and fight back and maybe get a big play right here on 4th down. But I think they will punt it, as they will not try and go for it as they've done before.
An absolute killer for Crespi, who thought that they were going to secure the first points of the season against Notre Dame, who have still, across 10 quarters, yet to allow it. Here's the punt. Weaver to return. Weaver. He already has a touchdown to his name today. 2 touchdowns, actually. One on the returning end. And that one doesn't go the same as the first play of this game. Luke Weaver brought down inside the 35.
Weaver brings the ball back.
And now, Joseph, you have 2 minutes and 55 seconds left to go. A massive mistake from Crespi. And it's just kind of those little things, right? It's those little things that kill you. And it feels like it's been those little things all night. Slight miscommunications, high snaps, and that's just what you can't do if you're trying to establish a message, if you're trying to make yourself known, if you're trying to prove that you're not the same team that went 0-10 last year. Where do you go from here, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, right now you just gotta see what you've done and you gotta correct it, right? There's no point in dwelling on what's happened because that's not gonna stop those high snaps. If you're like, oh shoot, we shouldn't have done that. That's not gonna reverse time and make it not happen. So you gotta just look at it, learn from it, and now you got to, you gotta do a lot better if you're Crespi right now.
A lot of score for Crespi. Pass to Pajunas. Pajunas brought down. Pendleton making his impact in this game, both fronts. And he brings down Pajunas, the big wide receiver, 6'4". Interestingly enough, Pajunas, just again to show how athletic some of these guys are, he's committed to Michigan to play baseball. He's a low 90s thrower, and then he just comes on the football field and averages 130 yards a game, gets incredible touchdowns, makes insane blocks. What can he not do? As there's Pizzella. Pizzella maybe going to run, not going to do so. There it is, breaks a tackle, still going, down the sideline. Can he get another block? Makes a move, and brought down inside the 10. What a play. And Notre Dame steals Slowowski, his first big play of the night. Steal-to-steal combo, how about that? And he goes inches away from bringing it all the way to the end zone. It's just the tackle at the last second that prevented it from getting there, but Notre Dame now in prime position to make this a 35-point game inside of the first half.
And that was made all about Steele at the quarterback position. He was pressured and he didn't really know where to go, so he makes an off-balance sidearm throw to the other Steele. And then Steele, we saw those moves. He pretended to cut back, then he went straight forward, got the defender to jump and lunge for it. And then he just took it all the way, got a couple blocks, and now look at that, already in the red zone and trying to make it a big, big increase in point differential.
Wide receiver yet. Wide receiver set. Opt for Tryon instead. He'll get a few yards. It'll be first and goal at the 8.
A couple of yards on the play.
And Joseph, just take me through what happened there. I mean, Steele Slowowski, he hasn't been much of a presence in this game. It's been a lot of Luke Weaver. It's been a lot of Eric Pajunas. But Steele Slowowski just kind of coming out of nowhere and making his presence known. I mean, what was that, 50-yard play?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the Knights. They have depth. They have so many guys who can perform. And, we always get caught with Eric Hayes and Elliott Cooper, but you tend to forget these guys who can also make big plays, and that was his shining moment. He saw all his moves and got on the
Pizzella
horse.
pass to Tryon, breaks into the end zone. Knights go up 34. And also, interestingly enough, about the Steele Slowowski and Steele Pizzella combo is not only are they steal-to-steal combo, but they're also transfer-to-transfer combo. The Knights defined this year by maybe the transfer. They have a ton of transfers coming in. They got Augie Evans, Noel Ramsey coming in, and they will not be able to play for a few weeks due to their status in the CIF holdout rules. But guys like Damjan Mitrovic, Steele Slowowski, Steele Pizzella, all able to come in and make their impacts known, as Weisberg will take the extra point, and it'll go through. Weisberg remains perfect on the year. Knights, perfect in this half.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame, they went all out or nothing this year. They went out and got great transfers. They got a new coach. They really tried to press the reset button, and it's worked really well for these first 3 games. But the real test will be this road trip coming up 4 in a row. So we'll see then. But right now, it's looking really good and have a really good future in store for Notre Dame football at the varsity level.
That's right, and you can all thank the orchestrator, Coach Yabu. Right when, after 2 weeks after the season, Wyatt Becker, Notre Dame star quarterback, 23 Division I offers, transfers out, goes to rival school Sierra Canyon, a huge blow. But just a few days later, Coach Yabu recruits Steele Pizzella from Simi Valley, who is just as high prestige, holds 13 Division I offers, but also offers something that Notre Dame needs, which is somebody who can run in the pocket. So it was really an incredible pickup, and then to go on, pick up Mitrovic, pick up Slowowski, pick up Peyton Belton from Cy-Fair. I mean, he's really just gone and orchestrated a team of his own. He's taken matters into his own hands, and he's built this team. And right now, I mean, they are succeeding beyond what he could have even ever dreamed of.
Also back there at number 5.
Arroyo takes this kickoff back behind Pendleton and Campazano, and it'll be another touchback. And one thing the Knights kicker are good at, and they are not good at just one thing, but if there was one thing, it's getting the touchbacks. Not much of any opportunity at all for any of these Crespi returners to get any chance at taking one back.
Yeah, we're sub 1 minute to go in the second quarter. as I would be really interested to know what the coaches are saying to their teams. I know they'll both be very different perspectives for Yabu and Notre Dame, and then for Crespi. They'll both have very different talks, and we'll see if Crespi might come out with a charge and try and get at least one on the board. As I am confident that they can find a way, but it's going to be difficult because Notre Dame defense is really, really solid and a well-oiled machine so far this season.
And maybe this right here could be some consolation. I'm sure if you're Crespi, you'd like to at least go into halftime without a goose egg on the scoreboard. So maybe even some kind of big play. And this looks like it could be one. Devin Bell still going. Bell gets a block. Bell with Perry in pursuit. Devin Bell brought down inside the 20. And Devin Bell, you asked for a big play from Crespi. You get it. It's Devin Bell. And what a changing moment that is.
Man, I need to stop talking about how Crespi needs to get a big play because it keeps on happening as I'm jinxing it into existence.
We're the Notre Dame commentators, not supposed to be trying to get.
As I mean, that was just great job from the O-line getting that that hole, and it was a really big gap for the running back, and then he just blew right by Carson Brewster. Couldn't get a good line, but he was taken down. This is the first time that Crespi is in near the red zone for Notre Dame's territory, so this could be a great way to go into halftime with some momentum. Any momentum that you can get if you're Crespi will go a long way in this game.
That's right, and you might think that even getting 3 points compared to Notre Dame 35 might not be considered momentum, but if you talk to any Notre Dame players in the last week like I have, as there's a big sack, it was Tristan Johnson-Cook. He's having a game, 2 sacks in the night, and Malu is right there like always. And if you talk to any Notre Dame players this week, they will say that anything below a 50-point blowout would be disappointing for them. They have such high, but that's really what they've been saying. I talked to them in my English classes at lunch. They are saying that they want this game to be as big of a blowout as possible. That is the kind of expectation they have for themselves. They do not just want to get the win. They want to win convincingly. They want to prove to maybe the transfers coming next year that they can compete with the big boys. They can beat up on the teams they need to beat up on. And that's a big kind of play right there. Might be pushing it right to Billiver's range. They were inside the 20, and which would be prime position for Ante Billiver, the 4.5-star kicker, to be able to put one in and get the first points of the year against Notre Dame. But now it looks like it's going to be slightly more difficult than that.
Yeah, it's definitely been Yabu and the team's personality to not only win but dominate in every game they play, and they've done that so far, and I expect nothing different this game. I think that's the mindset you need when you go up against these really great teams as Jay Sarah. You have to believe that you can not only beat them but dominate, and when you believe like that, you can make it a really tough game. So even if it's a win or lose, you'll be proud.
8-yard sack for Johnson-Cook, putting Crespi back 8 yards. Flag on the play, and this would be a big blow to Crespi if this is another false start. They've struggled with those kind of small mistakes tonight, and it is a false start. And Crespi cannot stop kicking their own heels. And every single time, Joseph, doesn't it seem that they get into the offensive territory and then they just go right back? And that's the thing that's holding them back in this game. They could have 9 points by now, even if they were just settling for field goals. They could take knees, and they could kick 39-yard field goals. It's not out of Billiver's range, like we mentioned a million times. And there's Harvey, crosses body, and he finds Pendleton, and they might now be back in the probable field goal range for Ante Billiver. Clock's running out, and they might have to spike it here.
They haven't gone set yet. This could be big.
Struggling to get set, and they're going to spike the ball, and it is going to be a 48-yard attempt for Ante Billiver to put up the first points of the season against Notre Dame, who have been stout defensively all year long and are definitely looking to keep that streak up.
Great job by Crespi there, as they were not set, but they quickly realized and got it playoff very quick. So 13 seconds to go, as they might do a field goal or they might go for it. But yeah, as you said, every time that Crespi starts to creep their way into momentum in the scoring zone, they have been getting a pretty big penalty, which has just really hurt them right now. We will see what they can do now.
4th and 12 here. Billiver take the kick to put up the very first points of the season against Notre Dame. To get Crespi's first points since week 1, Ante Billiver. Can he do it for Crespi? 13 seconds remain.
There's a lot of pressure.
42-yard field goal. A lot of pressure on him right now. Snap. Hold. Billiver's kick. And it's no good. And Billiver's kick doesn't go. And Notre Dame's defensive track record stays clean. And through 10 quarters of high school football this year, 0 points, goose eggs for Notre Dame on the defensive front. What a performance so far.
Yeah, it's a pretty tall task to ask from your kicker to try and get that far of a field goal, as he tried his best, but he just tried to give it a little too much juice, and that's what happens when it starts to leak to the left of the goalpost. So, tough quarter, tough half for Crespi, as they'll be looking to try and switch and get some points in the second half of this game.
That's right. It seems like every time they seem to get some kind of kick of momentum. Earlier it was the Elijah Pendleton play, the catch and the run. This time it was the Demony Bell rush, almost 60 yards on the play, and they get down to the 20. They go back. They get some bad penalties. They get in a position that's maybe manageable for Bielever, but he's not able to put it through. And it looked like the pressure was kind of caving in on him there. It looked like he didn't really have much of a place to go. Might have gotten his head a little bit. And this is just where Notre Dame is an overpowering Crespi all night, 35-0. And they might just take a kneel here and not risk any kind of interception or whatever. I'm sure they are very well happy to go into half up by 35, on pace to win this game by 70. And it looks like Pizzella still lined up. Might run. No, he will take a knee. And Notre Dame will go into the halftime up by 35. We thank you for tuning in right here to NDSN Sports. I'm Ford Quaintance here with Joseph Chirino. At halftime, we have an exclusive interview with Coach Yabu where he will say a bunch of the things that we mentioned earlier. Notre Dame, a dream start. Crespi, an absolute nightmare. And you can imagine that Brad Boname is going to have some words in the locker room with him.
Hey guys, welcome. This is the halftime show, and we were going to interview Coach Yabu, who has already done a terrific job with the team. They're 2-0 and given up no points with 2 shutouts. So, Coach, I just wanted to ask for the identity of the team. Which players or player has taken the motivation and the leadership role to rally your guys together for these games?
Got you. Definitely a collection of players. Starts with our quarterback, I'd say, Steele Pizzella, setting the energy level from a work ethic expectation. Got guys like Brandon Bryant who are really vocal, high energy leaders around our practice. You've got a lot of leadership by example type of guys, and people like Jack Curley, Eric Ispajunas, Xavier Perry, Jimmy Monty, Jaden Wells, and more. So a lot of leadership and in different shapes and forms.
Yeah, Steele and Ericus have really been performing. Steele he was leading the Mission League in yardage after the first game, and Ericus, he just got his first time to show who he is last season, and now this season he's just taking and running when he had 4 receptions for 100 yards the first game. And now you guys have been watching a ton of film with Crespi, and I believe this is your first time going up against Crespi, since at Thousand Oaks you guys didn't play them. So from the film, what concept have you seen that they have excelled at and will be a bit of a concern for your team?
Gotcha. They're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder for sure. Looking for their second win of the season. From a defensive perspective, they're going to bring some exotic pressures that we haven't seen, and they're going to bring a lot of different types of exotic pressures. So that'll be a challenge for us in pass protection and even in the run blocking to see if we can adjust our schemes to accommodate the different types of pressures we see. From an offensive perspective, they're extremely multiple. Their offensive coordinator played a long time in the Canadian Football League, even I think bounced around the NFL a little bit. So a lot of the formations and play designs that we see are relatively complex and very multiple.
And then just speaking on Crespi, this is a really big rivalry. It's been hyped up as every single time Crespi and Notre Dame play, the student section is very active, and we're all hoping for a win and good luck to you guys. So I was just going to go on that. What is your mentality when you get against these big rivals? Do you treat it as just any other game, or is there an extra bit of edge in your work ethic when you guys go against these big rivals?
Got you. I would say we approach this like we approach every game. The tradition and the history is something that I think we're lucky to be a part of, and that I think we get to experience in the game atmosphere on Friday night. But from a processes and preparation perspective, we're going to approach this one just like we approach all of them.
All right. And then the last one. So I just want to know, you guys have a road trip coming up, which would be very difficult. You have Jay Sarah, Sarah Kenyon, Sarah, and Westlake. And so I'm just wondering, how much would it mean to go 3-0 at this home trip before you go on the road and try and get some difficult wins?
It would mean a lot for us right now. Any momentum that we can accumulate in these first 3 games in front of our home crowd is big for us. We know a lot of our toughest challenges are ahead, and some of our toughest that we'll have all season long are in this next 4-game road span that we have coming up. So the momentum is immensely important. The excitement and the expectation to get on the road and perform and be in a new atmosphere, be in some different stadiums, is also present. So we're looking forward for all challenges to come.
Thank you so much, Coach Yabu. This is Week 3 football at halftime. We'll see you next time.
We welcome you back to NDSN, Notre Dame Sports Network. We thank you for tuning in from wherever you are. You can watch these games live or on demand on our YouTube channel, Notre Dame Sports Network. I'm Ford Quaintance back here with Joseph Chirino. And Joseph, what are your key takeaways from the first half between these two teams?
I thought Notre Dame did a really good job controlling, the momentum. They just, whenever there was a Crespi mistake, Notre Dame, they capitalized on it. But I know Crespi, they don't have any points on the board, but they were able to get some pretty good big drives on the 40-yard gain from the pass, and then that really great run all the way from their red zone. So I think both teams have been able to get some big plays up, but I think Notre Dame has been doing a great job on defense and offense, as we have seen so far.
That's right. It seems like the story of the game has been Crespi getting in areas where they can make a play, getting in range for Bielever. He just recently missed the kick at the end of the first half, 42 yards, seemingly something that was in his range. He regularly hits 50s in practices that he posted on his Twitter account. That one just wasn't working in his favor. Maybe some pressure, possibly a block from a Notre Dame player. We couldn't see that far, but there is a chance it could have happened. I mean, the defensive line has been all over Crespi today. And now, going into the second half, let's talk about Notre Dame. If you're Coach Yabu, are you congratulating your guys in the locker room, or are you staying kind of stoic? Are you saying, okay, we got the lead, we're playing exactly how we should be, now act like you've been here before, keep playing the same way, keep laying it on, continue to lay down the law, and don't ever let up?
I say exactly what you said just now, right? They're not going to slack off, right? Because there will be a point in time where it might be reversed. Notre Dame will be down 35-0, so you can't get too comfortable, right? We still need to make plays, right? Know our assignments, do our rotations, and we might see the second string come in, for some starters, and maybe see some new players come out and get a chance. But that's all Coach Yabu. As in week 1, Notre Dame left all the starters out on the field and took no second string. But in week 2, they put in a healthy mix of second stringers. So we'll see how Yabu reacts, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some new faces come out on the field this half.
That's right, and new faces there are a lot of. Talking about Notre Dame, we mentioned all the transfers they have, and some of them not even playing yet, not even allowed to play until week 7 after their bye week. Players like Augie Evans and Noel Ramsey, who we know are going to be able to make a huge impact. And yeah, I think, like you said, Notre Dame, they've been nearly perfect so far, but they can't let off the gas. And if there's anything we know about Yabu, he is a hustle machine. He puts GPS trackers on the players during practice sometimes to quantify hustle. Have you ever heard of a coach quantifying hustle by putting a GPS tracker on a player? It's quite unbelievable. So I think if you think that a guy who puts GPS trackers to see how much his guys are hustling during practice is going to step any kind of foot off the gas, I think you have completely wrong in your mind. As we get ready to start the second half, a nightmare for Crespi, a dream for Notre Dame. We're going to see if the narratives can change here. Crespi going to look to chip away bit by bit, down by down, and they will receive the second half kick. A lot of drama at the kickoff the first half. Luke Weaver, and we didn't get it on broadcast, unfortunately. Would have been exciting, but Luke Weaver took it all the way back. He grabbed a touchdown since then. It seems like every Notre Dame player has grabbed a touchdown at this point. It's been quite exciting here to see. And now it'll be Pendleton and Campuzano back to receive. Joaquin Arroyo will take this one. And similar to how Crespi seems to be switching out their quarterbacks between Foria and Harvey, it seems like Notre Dame is just switching out their kickers between Arroyo and Weisberg. They know that they got absolute gems in the first spot in the kicker depth chart and the second spot. Both Arroyo and Weisberg, crazy good legs, insanely accurate on the year. So it doesn't really make a difference, does it, Joseph? Kick from Arroyo. Low kick, goes into the end zone. And like I mentioned, the power from Arroyo. And that's something that's an underrated skill, to be able to get it to the touchback. Just give a consistent hard kick into the end zone.
Yeah, Notre Dame, what they're trying to do on the kickoffs is give Crespi no chance to bring it all the way back to the house for a touchdown. So they're just going to go touchback, bring it at the 25, and we'll go from there, since Notre Dame's defense has held Crespi pretty well this game.
That's right, and they do have to work to prevent those big plays, because they've had a few of them allowed. There was a big Elijah Pendleton catch earlier in the first half. There's a Demony Bell rush that resulted in a missed field goal attempt. But Crespi, they've been making plays tonight. They just have not been able to capitalize. It's been the small mistakes biting at them. And this is where they're going to look to clean it up. I'm sure there were some harsh words said in that locker room. and maybe it'll get them going, as it'll be Foria to start the second half for Crespi. Foria, give it to Harvey, the quarterback, and almost acted like a Taysom Hill there. The quarterback taking the handoff from the other quarterback, and that's not a setup you see very often, is it, Joseph?
No, it's a very unique one, but it shows Crespi they're trying all different options, right? They're using their entire playbook to see what, can get them going. And I would say Notre Dame, although they did get the tackle for the loss, they were pretty caught by surprise knowing what happened, but they reacted well, adapted to it, and were able to get the tackle for loss.
That's right. I'm sure Coach Abu is very happy with his team's adaptations. They've been put in some tough positions today, but they seem to come out on top no matter how they've done it. And the snap goes back to Foria again. No trickery here. Pass to Bell. Bell getting through, and Brandon was right there. Brandon Bryant, the brick wall. And that is why he holds offers from places like Bryant College, funny enough, and Fresno State. The tackle machine, Brandon Bryant.
Yeah, they tried the screenplay there, which has been very common for both squads of Crespi and Notre Dame. They just couldn't get it to work as flawlessly as they wanted, so they could not get as many yards as they want, as it is now third down.
And just like that, 14 yards, one down to go before it'll be another punt for Crespi. And a big play needs to happen here if you're the Celts. What can Foria make of this? What can Demony Bell maybe make of this? Who will it be? Pass to Campazano, but he's not going to get anywhere near the first down.
That was a really crisp route right there. So
and he did get the first down. They are going to give it to him, and they will move the chains.
Yep.
And a pretty impressive play right there. It looks like it was Oyamended on the tackle.
Yep, he drove to go right to the out-of-bounds area, and he took it up the field, was able to get enough movement to get right past the chains and make it a new set of downs.
That's right, and they tried to go for a little bit of trickery on that first play there. Didn't really pan out the way they wanted to. Now just going back to the classics. Ryan Campazano, seasoned vet, senior year. And there he is again. Only going to get a few yards on that one. It'll go to second down. And Jake Drucker looking to get his first action tonight. And the junior duo came up. Both went on varsity as sophomores together. Only 7 sophomores were on varsity last year. Few freshmen, a lot of guys that were maybe reclasses. 0 freshmen on varsity this year. So Notre Dame defined by their experience. Guys like that who have been throughout the system, who have been developed. LA Times described Notre Dame as hidebound. They like guys within their own system. And there it is again. It was Drucker on the outside, brought down.
Yeah, this D-line for Notre Dame is definitely a force in nature right there, just overpowered. So these are really great defensive ends and defensive edges and rushers. So great job for Notre Dame to be able to keep them back and now force Crespi to most likely have to go for a pass play and maybe cause an interception if Notre Dame could get through one of the routes and maybe force the QB for Crespi to have to make a pretty hard pass to make.
That's right. Interestingly enough, with how much Notre Dame's D-line has been penetrating the Crespi offensive line today, it's a lot of Fasoyo and Mitrovic who still do not have a sack yet, both who average a sack a game before that. It's been a lot of guys like Johnson, Cook, who have been coming in and making their impacts, the biggest impacts they've made all year. And that'll go incomplete, and we'll go to third down, 3rd and 6 on the Crespi 36.
Returning on the play for Notre Dame is number 13, Carson Brewster.
It was Carson Brewster there, the safety coming in. And Brewster stepped into a crazy role this year. He went from being a JV starter to a varsity starter. And if you know high school football, you know that that's a big jump. He's kind of undersized, but he makes his plays. He's fast, he's agile, and he knows what to do. And right there, he demonstrated it. And he forced the incompletion there. As now, Bieliver will punt again. Seems like something he's been doing a lot of tonight. Really short punt. Barely gets past midfield. Pajunas makes the catch, and he'll go out near the 45. And Notre Dame, yet again, finding themselves in elite field position to make something happen.
Yeah, it seemed he got a little bit under that kick. Couldn't get enough, power going forward as he had the height. Just couldn't get the line drive kick that you normally see with these punters. And talking about Carson Brewster, on JV last year, he really was part of the heart and soul of that team. He took the leadership role, and he's a really big, hard hitter. And as we've seen, he's fast. He's quick and agile. Right. So I think he will adapt really well here, and he has been doing here at the varsity level.
That's right. Notre Dame's got a fast pair of safeties. Oyemenen and Brewster, both juniors, both in track. A lot of these Notre Dame athletes are exceptional track athletes as well. They had Adonis Curie as a sophomore cornerback last year, who is one of the most highly recruited cornerbacks and track runners in the country. And they seem to like their speedsters in the secondary. As now to go back to Pizzella. Pizzella to Belton. Yet to really get going this year, but he can make something happen here. Belton going to get the first down. Belton breaking through, and the little guy making big plays, storming his way through the Crespi defense.
That was a great job. He went way outside, which can be risky if he gets tackled for a loss, but he's able to turn on the jets and get away from the edge rushers and the cornerback that came at him, and he got it for a good yard gain, as now is moving the sticks up for another first down night.
And speaking with linebacker Patrick Chumo, he describes him as one of the most agile, fast, and strong guys you'll ever see. He has an insanely strong physique. You can just tell that he hits the weight rooms, and that's what you have to do to compensate for that lack of size that Peyton Belton has. And he's just gotten off to the start he wanted in this game. Maybe a tough start in the year, but right now he's making his impact known and felt all across this Crespi defense. As here's a snap to Pizzella again. Belton will take it again. Belton, and he'll fight to get a few more yards, and that's going to be about a 4 or 5 yard gain for Peyton Belton. And that's the kind of strength we're talking about, being brought down right there, but still able to escape for just a few more yards at only 155 pounds. And that's really the kind of stuff that Notre Dame wants to see from their running back.
Pick up a 5 on the play. That'll make it 2nd and 5 from the Crespi 20-yard line.
Notre Dame inside the 20. And been a couple rush plays in a row. We'll see what they do now. Pizzella rolling out left. Pizzella firing. He's got Weaver. And Weaver brought down to the 14.
On the sidelines to Weaver.
And Weaver yet again doing what he does best, making the catch, making the plays. He's had a couple huge plays now already, as we mentioned. The kick return that we did not catch on broadcast, the touchdown to follow, the play right there. And it seems like every Notre Dame player is getting a little bit of action, especially in the receiver position, right?
Yeah, everyone's getting their share right now, as Yabu's trying to diversify who's getting the ball right now, so Crespi isn't, prioritizing one dude, as they know that Notre Dame will be just throwing it to them, such as Ericus or Elliott Cooper. So Notre Dame, they're spreading the ball everywhere so that everyone gets a shot, and it makes it much harder to cover when you don't know who could get the ball.
Hand off to Belton. Belton trying to get around the edge. Belton fighting for the pylon. Belton breaking his way free, and Notre Dame takes a 41-0 lead. It's in. Peyton Belton getting on the score sheet, and that is exactly what he needed after his slow start this season. Peyton Belton putting in the work, bullying his way through the Crespi defense to make this a 41-0 game with 6:28 to go in the third.
Yeah, that was a really impressive run. He had to run right through Crespi's defense, and he had to really try and fight his way, as he was able to be successful. He found a little bit of a hole, and he just gunned for it, reached it over the line, and that was a great job by Notre Dame to get yet another touchdown, and that's a rushing touchdown, so a lot more impressive.
That's right. You got to love the confidence. You mentioned that it can be risky to try and go to the outside, but he did it on 2 consecutive plays where he was rushing as Weisberg's kick is through. And you got to love the ambition. Sophomore, transferring his first year in a new school as a sophomore, playing on varsity, and he still has the ambition and the trust in himself to go outside, make the rush on the outside edge, and know that he has the strength and he has it in him to just push his way right through the defense where he needs to. That is confidence, and that is what separates good running backs from great running backs. And Peyton Belton is showing himself to be a great running back tonight.
I mean, being new in any sport, you're the new kid on the block. You have to try and get, confident with your surroundings. You have to be familiar with it. And he's done a great job going into this role right now, and he has been producing everything and more that Notre Dame has asked. So great job for our rushing right now, and he's really added that extra rushing game that we need to make us just more elite of an organization.
That's right, and talk about new kid on the block, but really with Notre Dame this year, it feels like the whole block is new. They dropped a new neighborhood in the city. I mean, so many transfers coming in, and so it's actually quite incredible what Yabu and this entire system has done. It seems to be working insanely well. I mean, they have 125 points on the year so far, with 6:28 in the third quarter of their third game and 0 points allowed, and that's with a bunch of these new transfers coming in and working in starting roles too, not just transferring and sitting on the bench. These are guys that are fitting into an entire new system, and it seems like this whole Yabu era that all the football guys at our school talk about is really live. Seems like on that last drive, the rushing really got going for Notre Dame. It seemed to be kind of a pass-heavy game. Tryon got in a little bit. Belton got in a little bit early on, but it seems like the rushing had never been the key component of the game for Notre Dame until just that last drive where Peyton Belton had a ton of rushes and ultimately got the big touchdown at the end, bullying his way through and just making it happen for Notre Dame all over the field tonight, having his breakout game this year. And Notre Dame is very excited to see what he has to bring, especially as the rubber hits the road in these next few games. And he is swallowed up. Johnston Cook was there again, and he has been a man on a mission tonight. Trenton Johnson Cook. And we mentioned all these Notre Dame players being track stars, and so you might think a lot of these guys are great runners, but Johnson Cook, he's an incredible shot putter. Shot puts over 50 feet, and I would know that because I did shot put with him, and it's quite incredible to see just the duality he has to go out there and be able to push the shot as far as he can, but also to come out here and bully lines. You wonder where he even gets the time to practice all these kind of things. I mean, he's got 2 sports that he's elite at. He's playing varsity here. He's the best shot putter at Notre Dame. I mean, the best male shot putter at Notre Dame, I should mention. The best female shot putter at Notre Dame, Aja Johnson, was honored at halftime after winning state for shot put.
Yeah, a lot of these players are definitely multi-sport athletes. And that's what adds so much athleticism and agility because they take all these things, you know, the vertical from basketball, you know, the throwing arm from football, which translates to great QBs and which translates to great receivers to be able to get height over your cornerback. So that's what football is really good at, bringing all these players from other sports and putting their talents out onto the field on display.
That's right. There have been some notable Notre Dame athletes who have played multiple sports, noticeably Giancarlo Stanton, former MLB MVP, one of the highest paid players in MLB history. He was an excellent football player at Notre Dame, was one of the best receivers they've ever had. As that pass is wide to Pendleton, and he was wide open, had a phenomenal route over the middle. And he had his man beat.
Yeah, I mean, there was nobody there in the coverage as he had a wide open gap just out of his reach. But the big thing is that if he caught that, the Notre Dame defender was right there. I believe that was Carson Brewster, who would have been able to make the tackle. So that's the thing about Notre Dame, that Notre Dame, for all their defense and all their offense, everybody's in the right position. So it's very hard to gain yards or to even tackle Notre Dame for loss. Because I don't think I've seen Steele get tackled for loss at all this season.
No, not even in this game, not even close.
I think that's definitely his agility and his speed.
And there's Canale coming off the edge and putting it down. Jonathan Canale gets another sack. And he just adds more to his resume this game. Jonathan Canale, and it was Johnston Cook right on the edge. And Canale and Cook, dangerous. Alafasoye might have got in there. Somewhat of a quiet game by Alafasoye standards. Playing his first year on varsity. Another sophomore making a big impact. Him and Luke Weaver, both basketball players, both extremely good at what they do in basketball. And then they come on the field, first year varsity starters, and they come in and they make their impacts well present and known. So really quite impressive stuff from the Notre Dame youngins, and you have to credit the culture that Coach Yabu has developed here as part of the reason why they've been so successful playing their first couple games on varsity this year.
Hey, down in front, please. Hey, down in front.
And it will be yet another punt. Short punt, goes past midfield, takes a Crespi bounce, and it'll be put down at the Notre Dame 46.
Notre Dame 45-yard line.
The Notre Dame Knights will take over yet again. 4:37 remaining in the quarter, and a chance to put maybe yet another touchdown on the board before even the end of the third quarter. This could be a game in the 50s before the end of this quarter. How do you feel if you're Coach Yabu, seeing this unfold, everything in your system just clicking perfectly, all cylinders firing right now?
Yeah, it's always a great sight to see if your coach just see all the pieces of the puzzle coming together, because when you dissect a game, it's a lot more systems, a lot more work that goes into it than what we see as in the practice. So to see all that hard work from the week, especially when 100-degree weather and add the turf, it's really tough to practice during the week. So to see all that hard work pay off and really well is really, really a good sign if you're the coach.
Now it's Jacob Rincon coming in, getting his first snaps of the game. Rincon to pass. Rincon rolling out. Rincon going to take it himself, and he fails to get past the line of scrimmage. And maybe one of the first plays for loss Notre Dame has had all night long.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we were talking about, where we were going to see some second-string players come in. Coach Yabu has made a decision to try and see some new pieces of the puzzle to come out and see how they will do if, God forbid, anyone gets injured, which, that's the thing about football. A lot of people get injured, so being able to put these guys in with reps is just really, really meaningful. As 3 receivers on the right, as I'm assuming if they do not hand the ball to Zane, that's where they'll be going.
They got Pajunas lined up to the left. Staying alone there. Might have been a jump there. Rincon's going to take it himself for the second time. He's brought down. It was James Mofat. And James Mofat, the 6'4", 230-pound bully, finds Rincon, hunts him out, and brings him down. And ran 2 straight lost plays for Jacob Rincon. Maybe not what he wanted as he gets his first snaps of the season. And interestingly enough about Coach Yabu's culture we were mentioning earlier, and I wanted to come back to this eventually, I think a lot of coaches talked about the culture. A lot of players talk about the culture and the environment. But what is the culture if you just talk about it? You see Coach Yabu, you see it being put on the field. You see how much these players do not step off the gas, even if they're winning by a lot. They don't worry about the scoreboard. They keep on playing just as hard. And so we're not just hearing Coach Yabu talk in interviews, and we're not just hearing Notre Dame players talk about how good their culture is. They are executing it, and they are fulfilling the prophecy.
Yeah, I mean, this team is really a prime example of show, don't tell, right?
Exactly.
Don't say that you're the best team. Show it, show it on these games where it really matters. Don't walk around saying that you're the best team. Show that you're the best team and let your play and ability speak for itself.
Exactly. The playing speaks for itself. If there's anything that writing an English essay and playing a football game, it's show, don't tell. And it's interesting that advice has somehow managed to carry over into my commentating career. Show, don't tell. Shout out Miss Hubble. The snap goes back to Rincon. First down the last play. Belton and swallowed up. And now it seems like the Crespi defense coming alive a little bit. It looked like it was Austin Wisdom there coming in, making a big play. Mofat right there behind him. And it looks like now there might be some fire brewing up in these Crespi players. They know that they might actually be more matched up against these guys, the Notre Dame backups coming in, and they think that they can maybe get some kind of small victory here. The victory in this game, it's not very plausible, but if they can come in, they can get some points, they can put up the first points of the season against Notre Dame, they might come out with confidence, and they might prove to the high school football world that they are not just some laughing stocks, that they can actually compete with big guys. As here's Rincon again. Rincon launching, and that'll go incomplete. And the pass was intended for Nikos Burstol-Karakasides, getting his first reps of the year.
Yeah, I mean, when you put in the second string, it's not going to work as flawlessly as your first string, but these are quality reps that you need as a coach to see. Because if the player doesn't get any reps, how is he supposed to perform well in the game? Because I know practice, they try and simulate the game, but nothing is more, valuable in experience than playing in a game. So I think I like what Coach Yabu is doing and putting in these new players, especially the QB for Notre Dame, to, mess around and kind of see what it is playing in these big games.
That's right, especially with the big 4-game stretch they got coming up. As Belton makes a man miss, Belton's still going. And he might have not got enough for the first down. Still a good rush by Belton. But like Joseph was saying, getting these guys rep is so crucial because you can also see maybe who can perform without knowing it in practice. Maybe some guys in practice aren't as good, so they don't make the starting lineup, but then maybe they get in the game and they just hit a different mode. They start seeing red. They start making plays. And so that's really valuable knowledge to have going into these next 4 games, especially knowing they're against teams like J. Sarah, Westlake, which is not as hard of a game as the other, but it is on the road. Sierra Canyon on the road, Sarah on the road, and then not much easier after that. So it's very crucial to get all these players reps, especially as the score seems to be getting away from Crespi.
From the 30-yard line.
Rincon again. Rincon drops back, finds Belton, getting a lot of reps right here, and he's swallowed up by Mofat. Flag on the play, and flags are just flying all over. And
something that I really want to point out about Notre Dame and how big of a deal it is that Coach Yabu is here is that in the years that Notre Dame have been a varsity football team, they've only had 3 coaches. They had Rooney and McNabb, both 40-plus years here at Notre Dame. So having, Yabu here is a really big deal because it's been a lot of veteran coaches that we've had, and now this is Yabu's very first season.
They stay within their own system. They like to, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so I want to see, this is the start of his journey here with Notre Dame, and we hope that he stays for years to come and maybe hit that 40-year mark with the previous coaches in McNabb.
It seems like he's embracing and loving his role. So far, 125 points scored, 0 points allowed. Everything seems to be working for Coach Yabu's system. He's looking like a super genius right now with what he's been doing for this Notre Dame team. There was an injury on the field. Peyton Belton was down. We couldn't see who the Crespi player was that was down, but he seemed to be a little bit more hurt from the incidents. And that would be an offensive foul on Notre Dame. Might have gone on Belton there.
Against Notre Dame for a block in the back.
Illegal block in the back, and so they will be going back a little bit. And we'll repeat first down. Ball on the 43.
Takes the ball back to the Crespi 43-yard line.
And it will be 1st and 20 for the Knights as the clock hits 50 seconds to go in this third quarter. So far, Notre Dame not slowing, maybe slowing down a little bit, actually. It seems like this Crespi defense has started to have some answers, make some big plays, some tackles as Rincon rolling out. Doesn't have any options. Rincon still going. Oh, and he takes a big hit and goes down. And that won't be enough for the first down, but that's exactly what they needed right there. Picking up half that yardage, getting back to within a reasonable point, and it'll move to about 2nd and 9.
I believe that will be a holding on the play as the Notre Dame Knight player held on to defense a little bit too long, as that was pretty obvious as we saw here.
And yes, it is a holding.
This penalty will go against Notre Dame.
And it'll be a 1st and 30 or 2nd and 20, depending on what Notre Dame elects to do with it. But again, another just killer for Notre Dame here. And the offense behind Jacob Rincon has just not been able to get going yet. And it might not be Rincon's fault. They have a lot of new guys out. I mean, Pajunas is out. I mean, Johnson Cook is out. Greason's out. I mean, a lot of their linemen are out. Mitrovic still on the field, but a lot of newcomers coming in, getting their first snaps of the season.
Yeah, I think it's very important to get the stars out, not only so that you can get the second string some reps, but also so that there's no, unneeded playing time, because if they get injured already up by this much, it'll just hurt the player of having to be in when they really don't need to. Give them their rest. They've done their job. So I think that's a great job from Coach Yabu to recognize that and to take action.
Clock expiring. They're not going to snap it. And that'll be the end of the third quarter. Another phenomenal quarter by Notre Dame. Slowed down a little bit on offense, only put up 7 points, but they still are holding Crespi to absolutely nothing. The Crespi offense got nothing going, but maybe they seem to be shifting the narrative on defense a little bit, don't you think? They're getting some bigger plays, so maybe they can replicate that same kind of effect on the offense, make some bigger plays on offense, and finally break through this Knights defense that has just been incredibly hard to get past this entire night, and really the entire season, to be honest.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year, the Notre Dame High School Athletic Office will honor some of the past greats at our Notre Dame Athletic Hall of Fame event. If you are interested in attending or possibly sponsoring, please click on the Hall of Fame link on the Notre Dame website. Thank you.
And now Notre Dame is back on the field as we bring you the start of the fourth quarter. You are watching an NDSN production, bringing you this week's edition of the Friday Night Lights here at Notre Dame High School. Their last home game before a big road stretch that might determine who this team really is. You can beat up on the lower teams all you want, but when the rubber meets the road is where things really get determined. We can see what kind of team this is as Rincon makes the pass. And there it was. Pass to Jake Carrillo, his first reception of the year. And a lot of these juniors getting in right now. Jake Carrillo, Nikos Burstol-Karakasitis all getting some big reps in. And of course you have Jacob Rincon getting his snaps at quarterback. Just something that's very necessary to have, especially in his senior year. You just want to see guys getting reps. Belton's still staying on the field. Fake to handoff. Rincon still running. Rincon brought down from behind. And that was a tough double tackle, and Rincon seems a bit shaken up. And that is a tough tackle. I mean, that was a little bit of a low-high action, right?
Yeah, that was a really tough tackle again, but it was delivered really well, and they got him down. As I see, this is what Notre Dame's doing. They have the quarterback run out of the pocket and scramble, and you have your receiver waiting right there for him if he wants to decide to take the ball in his own hands or to give it up. So he decided to try and advance up the field with his agility and just couldn't quite get the yardage that they were looking for, but it will be third down, and I expect to see another good play concept coming our way.
That's right, and I think there's a pretty obvious pattern of the kind of quarterback that Notre Dame likes. You can see that, even if Rincon's skill level isn't up necessarily to Pizzella's, they have a similar kind of playing style. You've seen Rincon roll out on almost every play he's had on the field here. So Notre Dame, they like their mobile passers. Yabu's system embraces the running quarterback, unlike Coach McNabb's system. As there's Peyton Belton breaking through, Belton, and he trips and falls there, still making an excellent rush, enough to maybe move the chains. He might have gotten the first down on that one. And
he really turned on the jets right there, as we thought he was going to be stuffed a little bit, but he kept going, and he was tripped up a little bit, but that was a very impressive run. I was not expecting him to get that much yardage.
Yeah, it's still 11 to go for Notre Dame, and it looks like they will elect to punt this one. No, they're going to go for it. 4th and 11. Why are you going for it here?
I mean,
what's Yabu's move here?
They're up by a ton, so any extra reps for any of these guys could mean the world. So I think it's a good move to go for it, just to try and see stuff.
That's a weird move. I mean, Weisberg hits 50 on his Twitter account all the time. He's a phenomenal kicker. Royal has a crazy leg. Why not let him try a 50-yard field goal?
I mean, here's the thing about practice. There's no pressure in practice, because if you miss, you didn't miss any points. So I think that, yes, they could have kept the field goal unit in place, but I think getting the extra reps and seeing what this Notre Dame second string is about means a lot more than getting an extra 3 points and already a blowout game.
Yeah, I still just think that's a strange call from Coach Yabu. I mean, yes, you mentioned there is no pressure in that kind of environment, but this is, in my opinion, this is the best time to see if Weisberg or Royal has the leg to do what they do in practice. I mean, this is, this 42-0. It's the fourth quarter. You're in a position to win this game. Why not see if they can do it in the game situation? Like, say, hey, Will, go improve yourself. See if you can hit that 50-yard field goal in a game, and then maybe that's good information to have. As there's Canale bringing him down yet again. Jonathan Canale, a monster on the field tonight. And he throws up his little fist celebration. And Jonathan Canale, a force to be reckoned with. And I bet Jay Sarah is quaking in their boots watching this huddle film. I mean, Jonathan Canale, this whole defensive line, Malu, Canale, Johnson Cook, even a lot of Basoye getting in there, and they're all just pushing through this line, and they have no answers.
Yeah, I mean, if you are any of Notre Dame's opponents, when you're watching film of Notre Dame, you're seeing a ton of success. But I do think that these teams are getting a lot more information as the season goes on to try and get used to Notre Dame's concepts. So we'll see how well Notre Dame adapts. Because if Jay Sarah knows Notre Dame's big plays and what they do a ton, it's going to be tough for Notre Dame to find ways to catch them off guard.
And Troy Wells.
Is really good at doing it. It's showing coaches how other teams
And that was Troy Wells right there, his first reps of the game, getting brought down. A big-bodied freshman, 5'9", 200 pounds, running back, linebacker. I think one of the interesting things about this Crespi team is that they are young. I mean, we mentioned guys like Demony Bell, who had over 200 yards in the first game, their win against Grace Brethren, their first win in almost 2 years. I mean, the youth for Crespi is very promising, and these guys can make an impact. They have a ton of sophomore O-linemen that are big-bodied, that have a lot of potential to make things happen. So I think if you're Crespi, you're focusing on getting these youth reps right now. And there's the pass to Jacob Lang, the sophomore. That'll be enough to move the chains.
Yeah, I mean, that was a bullet pass right there, low and right at his chest. So great play concept right there. Move up the yardage a little bit. Still a little bit shy, maybe 3-4 yards to go for Crespi, as we'll see how they'll do.
4th down now. Looks like they're going to go for it. I don't know what else they would have to lose. And it's crazy looking through this Crespi roster in preparation for studying for this game, how much you would just see FR for freshman or SO for sophomore, how little you would see junior or senior on the roster. It's a team built around the youth, and I guess when you go 0-10, you're probably going to drive a couple guys away, but that is what clears the way for these new youth to come up in the system and make their impacts. And honestly, even with the scoreboard Crespi has shown some promising youth tonight. You had the play from Pendleton. You had the rushes from Bell. You have guys like Lang making their catches, making their plays, not really showing too much, problems with the moment that they have at hand. And so I think this is still valuable experience for Crespi. I think this is still something that's necessary for them to do. And it's why they need to stay in this game and keep playing as if the score is 42-42 or 0-0. Notre Dame going to come back on the field. And now at this point for Crespi, it's just small victory hour. They can just try and get any points. They have the field position now, 4th and 2, and this might be one of those small victories that can keep them motivated for the rest of the season. As here's Foria. Foria, no one there. And Crespi yet again fails to convert. And that's just been the narrative the whole night.
That was a great job by Jimmy Monte to apply pressure to the QB as he was forcing him to make a tough decision of trying to scramble or just throw it away to make sure that's not a loss of yardage. And he did a great job and forced the QB to make an incomplete pass out of bounds, as it will now be a punt, I believe.
And it was 4th down there, so that means it'll be a turnover on downs. And Notre Dame will get the ball back, a chance to make yet another offensive splash before this clock expires. 5:41 to go. And Notre Dame has this one in the bag. And one of the interesting things that in watching film of Crespi in week 1 in their game against Grace Brethren, a game that they won, which is the first game they'd ever won, you can see that when Demini Bell got the 25-yard touchdown to win it, offensive linemen were lifting him up, and it was one of the greatest celebrations you'll see. And that just goes to show that a victory, no matter how small it is still a victory. Some people might gawk at the fact that they're celebrating beating a team playing their first game of 11-on-11 football in their history. But I think it's a cool moment to see. I think it's cool to see that these guys are still playing with passion, even though they've fallen from number 34 in the country down to Division 12. They've had struggles. They've lost a lot of talent. But they're still playing with the same kind of pride. And they're still keeping the fans there. The Crespi section is still live, and they're still celebrating as if they are still number 34 in the country. I think that's just one of the cool things about football in general. So I think any kind of small victory here can still mean a lot for these Celts. As there's the rush for Notre Dame, still going, brought down. And that was Ryan Ekdahl.
As Ryan Ekdahl played on JV last year, and just like Carson, he's really quick, he's a big hitter, and he's really agile. So I think he has been adapting really well here for the varsity team, as this is his first time out at the running back position, as he got pretty good yardage right there, as he found a hole, took it, and was able to bulldoze his way up the field for a good gain.
That's right, and one of the interesting things about this Notre Dame team is that juniors are not allowed on JV. So if you are a junior and you decide to play football, no matter how big, slow, bad you are, you can play on varsity ND, and you could get an opportunity like that. So it's quite cool to see guys that you maybe wouldn't expect to get opportunities in a typical high school football setting get their opportunities. As there's Ekdahl again, and he gets brought down. Not much of a gain for him.
Tackled by Campuzano.
And we expected this would happen. A lot of new guys coming in, a lot of guys that haven't really gotten the chance to play this year. We see Jeremiah Bradley, number 9, over there in Navy. We see Nikos Birchtold, Carrick Casitas, Ryan Ekdahl making plays. These guys are doing good for what they were given. I mean, they're playing their first minutes on varsity. I know it's not the highest pressure environment, but it's still varsity ball. It's still Friday Night Lights, and they do not seem to be too bright for these Notre Dame newcomers. Snap to Rincon.
Play is blown dead.
And play is blown dead. False start on Notre Dame, and they're going to go back to 2nd and 12.
Notre Dame for a false start.
I think this was a really big victory right now, as there is still time left on the clock, but I think it is safe to say Notre Dame has pulled out with a win, as their next home game will not be for a pretty long time, as they'll have one more home game and then they'll go to homecoming. So they'll have 2 more home games, I should say, but it's going to be a while till we get there. So I think getting 3-0 at home is really big, because last season they failed to protect home turf, which is a really big sting for any team to not be able to protect their home.
And at this point, this will be 3 home wins, which is already more than they had last year. So signs of progress already showing in this program, even with a loss of talent. I mean, a lot of players like Keon Salehi leaving to go to college, now playing at Cal Poly. Players like Adonis Curie, who holds 20 Division I offers, insanely, the speedster cornerback, Wyatt Becker leaving Sierra Canyon, and yet they're still outperforming last year's squad. I mean, that just has to be a miracle of the system, don't you think? That's got to be Yabu. It's got to be the new culture, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a lot of different parts. I think Yagbu has been a really big help. I also think, Yabu, he's not the one out there playing, right? He's not out there putting the pads. It's the players. So I think the players have done a great job. But there's
a snap over the head, and Ekdahl falls on it. And the first big trivial mistake for Notre Dame. The snap went high over Rincon's head.
But back to the point of I was saying is that the players are the one putting the pads on. They're the ones who have to do the work ethic. Yabu, he can't be the one to go play for them. So I think the players have shown really, really good progress, and we've seen it all right now. We've seen how it's all paid off in the summer work.
That's right. Whatever it is, it seems to be working as the clock seems to wind down here. 90 seconds to go.
This is Notre Dame's first punt, we should say, as we'll see the punt team out, as they were probably expecting to come out a little bit more, but they haven't been getting a lot lately.
That's right. Weisberg getting his first reps as the punter, where he succeeds so well. I mean, he's the number 5 ranked punter in California. It's almost a tragedy that he hasn't gotten to show off his punting skills today, isn't it? I mean, obviously he probably doesn't want to because it means they're scoring touchdowns and making plays. But Weisberg, I mean, he's such a good punter, and he's not even going to get a chance to do it that much this game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not punting because the team is performing really well, I think I'd be fine with it. I mean, sure, yes,
Absolutely.
You want to showcase. But if your team's playing really well, I think that's all that matters. All that matters is that they are getting the win, they're getting the quality reps, and they've really been showing to be the better team tonight.
And interestingly enough, last week against Birmingham, Notre Dame won that game 41-0. They were one blocked extra point away from having every single one of their games finish in a 42-0 result, which obviously that can still change. There could be a pick six, there could be a big play. You never really know. As Weisberg lines up to take this punt. And it'll be Ryan Campuzano, the seasoned vet, the senior, who will be taking this one.
And you can already tell they know how far Will kicks, as look how far back the receiver is. He's back near the 10-yard line. So that would be a really huge kick, as we'll see.
55 yards back. And
a little bit of a whiff.
It goes a little short for Weisberg standards. It takes a Crespi bounce and it goes back, and they'll get the ball inside the 35.
At the Crespi 33-yard line. The Celtics will have it first and 10.
And not electing to stop the clock. Looks like they're just going to let this one run out. See if they can maybe secure a point last second, maybe a big play or something. But overall, right now, it's looking like it's going to be 42 goose eggs in Notre Dame's favor. 1 minute to go as the clock winds down. Crespi will take the field. Will probably be the last drive of the game. See if maybe they can get some kind of consolation prize here, something to send them back on the road, something to be prideful about. As here's the rush. Doesn't really go anywhere. There's Troy Wells yet again, getting in the game quite a bit tonight, at least in these last couple minutes, this last quarter. Clock's winding down. Crespi's just going to elect to not keep it moving. Not going to use any timeouts. Might not have any timeouts to spare. But either way, the clock is going. A scramble to get everybody lined up. Now 20 seconds remaining. Harvey will line up. Harvey going to run it himself. And what might be the last play of this game. Harvey still going on his feet. Harvey brought down in bounds.
Out to the 46-yard line.
And they're going to rule that out of bounds, and they'll probably put a couple seconds back on the clock. And so they might have one more play left with 6 seconds to go. And what do you think, Joseph? You go for the Hail Mary here? Just see if you can get something done?
I don't think you go for a Hail Mary. I think it's unnecessary. It's not going to save the game, anything.
Yeah.
I think they either take a knee and end it or maybe do a couple more run plays, but I'm not expecting to see
some
anything.
Kind of like, laterals or something like that.
No, I'm not expecting anything special right now.
And as the seconds tick down and this game seems to be reaching an end, we want to thank you, me and Joseph here at NDSN, for tuning in tonight. We know that these games are very exciting, and we are very, very grateful to have the chance to present them to you guys. can always follow our Twitter at, what is it again? NDHS Sports Network. I apologize for my confusion. NDHS Sports Network, where you can see live scores and updates as it's happening. You can follow our on YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that, NDSN. You can watch these games live or on demand. Like we've said before, we have a lot more games coming along throughout the fall. We got football coming in a few weeks when they come back home. We got volleyball throughout that little break. We got the homecoming game streaming, and then we got winter and spring sports. So we hope that we'll be seeing a lot more of you guys, and we hope that you guys will be excited to see a lot more of us here on NDSN. And
Wow,
Mason
look at
Harvey
that.
takes his last steps of the game.
They do try and do a Hail Mary at the start. Wow.
Harvey runs, takes out of bounds, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is your. Oh, and it's getting physical at the end there. A tough late hit from Mosqueda. And a little late hit. And they weren't happy about that. And Notre Dame coach is coming to try and break it up. And it looks like it's settled down. And Notre Dame, a dominant win. A bloodbath here in Sherman Oaks. 42-0 Notre Dame. Once again, we thank you for tuning in. I'm Ford Quaintance, and Joseph, I'll let you outro yourself.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Notre Dame has proven once again that they are a team that have really been proven to be a team to not mess with, as they will be taking on J. Sarah at